Good morning, dear colleagues. My name is Miss Abraham Helena, a class teacher for pre-primary school or grade at Ndilula Nekako Primary School. I'm a final year student teacher at the University of Namibia through in-service training at Ifike Punye Poamba campus on Wediva. I'm going to present to you the knowledge that I acquired in the numeracy and learning support module. You are advised to take note and ask questions at the end of this presentation. I am going to start with point number 1, learning support cycle or process. Learning support is about different planned methods that enable learners with different learning difficulties and other special needs to meet the basic competence. It is known as a way to ensure that all learners are able to make positive progress and obtain satisfactory results according to their potential. So this method accommodates every learner irrespective of different learning needs. We are talking of learners with poor vision. We are talking of learners with poor hearings. They are all accommodated and needs to be assisted through learning support program for them to catch up and obtain and meet the basic competence is required by every learner. I'm going to start with the learning support cycle includes the following steps. Step number 1, the teacher should observe or identify a certain child who is struggling and wants to give support as soon as possible, or needs to be given a support in that specific topic. For example, a certain child has a problem with spelling words correctly, reading correctly. That's what we call, so the learner has a literacy learning difficulty. So this child may see well, this child may hear very well, but this child seems to confuse, for example, between the letters like B and D. So now, for this learner to identify between these two letters, obviously this child has what we call a dyslexia, and then this disorder is really a problem to most of the learners, if not all. So this learning, it needs support. So this child needs a support to combat this disorder. So here you may explain to the learner, like for you to identify between B and T. So first of all, this child needs to know the phonic sounds of those two letters. Obviously we have B, B for B, and then we have D, D for D. Now you will tell the learner that once you find a word with that letter B, B, then a child should think of a child who eats to the full until her stomach gets full. And then again you explain to that same learner that once you find a word with D, for example, and, that child should think of a child who wears a diaper. We all know what a diaper is. We have seen it at our houses, and even our children, they have seen it at their houses. So once the child, when he or she is reading or writing those words, and then then made of those two letters, and then he or she will go back to the class and think that, oh, the teacher said when I see this letter, so I should mention it as like B, because it's compared to a child who eats until the stomach gets full. And then once I see a word with a D, I should think of a child, of a baby who wears a diapers. So I'm moving on to the step number 2. The teacher should not step number 2, sorry, step number 3. Step number 3, teacher takes action, should take action. He or she should plan activities to help the child differentiate between B and B, and that's what I explained already. That's step number 3. So here a teacher is just encouraged to start out with the whereby the teacher should use strong positive supportive guidance or instruction known as explicit instruction, then slowly begin to let the learners acquire the skill, moving towards the goal of learner. Mediated self instruction. So on here, a teacher can explain to the child. I already gave the example of B and D, how a learner should differentiate between these two letters. I'm moving on to step number 4, where step number 4, sorry for the wind, the child has to do the activities to overcome the mix-up. Here, you as a teacher, you are advised to give a lot of activities to the learner to keep on practicing. As we know, practice makes perfect. So we must not let them relax. They must do more and more to overcome all these learning difficulties or disorders. I'm moving on to step number 5. Step number 5, sorry for the name again. The teacher evaluates, or the teacher is asked to evaluate or assess if the child has overcome the problem. So after all, the teacher has tried to make efforts to help this child meet the base competence on the certain topics that a certain learner was struggling. Now the teacher should plan for activities to evaluate and assess those children or that specific children to see if that child has met the basic competence, if that child has took something from what the teacher had tried to help through support program here. So if not, for example, the teacher now gave the activities to the learner, he or she has to mark that activities and find out that no, this specific learner did not improve. So again, the same teacher should be asked to replan another support program, teach those topics, find another way that a learner can learn, and then until he or she meets the requirement and the basic competence, and then again reassess the learner. So he or she should prepare quality activities. There are a lot of teachers are encouraged to do more research. They should they should read through different books. They should go to internet, and then they will know, obviously, if they are searching for that specific activities that has to do with learning support in mathematics, obviously they will get that, and then they train their learners. They can give it to their learners, then until that child mastered the basic competence of that specific topic. Then I'm going to the second point about the learning support, which is called tiered lesson. This method includes the degree of assistance, how structured the task is, how the task should be structured, like to create a quality activity or a task that a learner cannot struggle when he or she is given to do such task. Here, so this third lesson is the one that should direct a teacher when coming up with a task, an activity to assess the learners. So so it has to do with the complexity of the task given and the complexity of the process. We are moving on to the third point. We are talking of learning support program, how to help learners with learning disorders. So with point number 3, we have 3 differentiated instruction. This method we can adapt the content. The process, product, and environment. The teachers are also encouraged to read more about this method, differentiated instruction, and then to make themselves like to be aware of this and how does it help in learning support. So here we are talking of content. Remember, I have mentioned content, process, product, and environment. So let me explain to you about these bullets one by one under differentiated instruction. I'm starting with content. Content has to do with how can the content be adapted to suit different needs. You must focus on key concepts to be mastered, like pre-assess, and as a teacher you have to decide on the needs groups of learners have regarding the content. Here we are talking of the content of the module, of the subject. Sorry, at junior primary phase we use subject instead of modules. We use different entry points. You should use different texts and resources or learning materials and make learning contracts with your learners that they will learn both skills and contents and map out their part of their process. You should reteach many lessons to learners who missed the key concepts. So obviously they are your learners, you are working with them, so it's you to control them and find out who needs this support, or who do you find out like he or she has missed of the many lessons. You should also bring in different support system examples. We must use the cameras, so to take pictures, tape recorders to record it. You record your lessons, how you as a teacher presented that topic to your learner, and how your learners were participating in that. So obviously when you're going to listen to this, obviously you may find out where do you need to make or to give learner support. It's either to both learners or to certain learners that seems that they did not master the basic competence of that specific topic. I am moving on with my presentation. You are also encouraged to make to design graphics, and then you are also encouraged to bring in other learners and also the parents to take part, as we know that education starts at home and parents need to take part in the education of their learners. So they should also be included in these many lessons, and then obviously 1 or 2 will catch up and may be able to help other learners, or even the parents will also be able to assist their learners on those on the activities that they may struggle if they become aware of that. So we are moving on to the second one, which is called process. What opportunity can learners get to master the content or key concepts? Learners will be engaged, or they are going to engage in learning experiences that have a different of modes. When we are talking of modes, we are talking of ways of doing, different ways of doing things that are supposed to be used on depending on different degrees of difficulty to choose from. There are different time spans to complete the task. Some learners are too slow and some learners are too fast or too quick to complete the task, so you should work with them. We should work with both of them. So when they are doing a task, if it's a class work, then you, obviously the teacher, you are not supposed to just to sit there waiting for them to finish. You should move around the class and see who is doing well, who is not doing so, and that's when you find out the one with learning difficulties. Then the learners, they get multiple options that help them to make sense of what they need to learn. There will be different teacher or peer supporters, different teachers or peer supporters. This process will require the use of important skills or information to master the content. So you need the teachers that you are bringing in, the peers that you are bringing in. Obviously, everyone will have a different ways of how should it be easy for one to master it. That's why they are very important to be gathered together with the learners. The process will require the use of strategies can be example there. So there are different strategies. So some of the strategies are, for example, the tiered assignments or same task at different levels of difficulty, like cubes of different colors with instructions. We are moving on to point number 3, the product. What product or demonstration will show that learning took place? You should decide what knowledge, understanding, and skills are key concepts of their content. Then you decide on different but appropriate formats and the quality you require. You should explain clearly, show possible examples of products, writing books. You can write a book, you can come up with a poem, make a collection of those resources, read, and while you are reading to the learners or the learners are reading, you should make a tape recorder. You should record using a tape recorder. You create a subject dictionary. You should be creative and innovative. So as a teacher, you should be creative and innovative. So you come up with a subject dictionary with those vocabulary words, well explained to the learners in a simple way that they can understand. You can produce, this can also promote the vocabulary of a learner. You can also produce a play, or like learners can make a play, learners can make a drama, learners in the way that they can express themselves freely, and then others can learn through that also. When they are just, learners, like, they like playing, they like making fun, and then through that they can also learn something they can pick up. So you must make a play even about the topic that you just taught that specific day in that lesson. You can create posters. Learners, they like playing with pencils, they like playing with paints, they like drawing those things. So you should encourage all those activities to happen in your class. And then you can also do about thick text-to page. You should learn more about the thick-to page, how it works and how does it help the learners, especially with those ones that having learning disorder. We are moving on to point number 4, which is Bloom's taxonomy, a song everybody practice. Mr. Bloom, maybe the owner of who came up with this taxonomy, he analyzed thinking levels and came up with 6 levels of thinking which demand little or complex thinking skills by the teacher asking questions and giving tasks that require different levels of thinking. And the blooms of taxonomy consist of the following levels. Level number 1, remembering, retrieving. Remembering, when you are remembering, here you are retrieving, you are recognizing, and you are recalling relevant knowledge from long-term memory. The thinking capacity here has to work, so to remember what happened last time. Or yeah, we are moving on to point number 2, which is understanding. Here you are constructing the meaning from oral writing and graphic messages through interpreting, exemplifying, classifying, summarizing, inferring, comparing, and explaining. So you are trying to understand what was demonstrated, or what from the story maybe that you learned, that you read about, like for example in a book. And then the pictures, what the, or maybe the pictures that accompanies that story, like what message was it interpreting. So, and then the examples that maybe were given, and then the grouping, like how the things were classified, and then how that maybe story, that how was it summarized, it to give the main ideas. So we are moving on to point number 3, which is, to levels. Sorry, this is not points, these are levels of Bloom's of taxonomy. Yes. We are moving on to applying. Here you are applying, carrying out a procedure through executing or implementing. You are applying maybe the knowledge that you learned from that specific subject. We are moving on to the next level, which is analyzing of situations. We all are aware of that. Breaking materials into constituent parts. So it is about breaking material into constituent parts, determining how the parts relate to one another, and an overall structure or purpose through differentiating, organizing, and attributing. So here, to acquire more knowledge about that and be familiar with this point, with this level, I'm advising you to go back to wherever module you will find the Bloom of taxonomy. We will understand more about these levels. They are very useful, they are very important. And then the final level, we are talking of evaluating. Here, under this level, you are making judgments based on criteria and standards through checking and critiquing. I'm still advising you to go back and read more and understand more at the Bloom of taxonomy level. There are a lot of modules that you may find this Bloom of taxonomy. There are a lot of them. And then we are moving on to point, or to strategy number 5. To step, not strategy, but step. So we are done with with step number 4, which is Bloom's taxonomy. So now we are moving on to step number 5, which is TIC-TEC-2 strategy. Here you are supposed to create a 3x3 block, and you need to fill in the required activities for each block. So it's about it's a 3x3 block with within those blocks you are going to fill, you are supposed to fill in the the required activities for each block. And then some of the activities are as follows. We have activities can be learners to choose 3 activities, either going straight across the block, straight down the block, or diagonally in a straight line. So it's up to you either, but I think it's for the teacher to choose which one do they want his or her learners to do. Then the second one, another activity that can be chosen is a set of available choices that include different activities types and the basic competence of the specific syllabus. You make sure that whichever direction a child chooses, there will be different levels of expectation. Here a child is also having a right to choose what he or she can learn, can do the activity well and learn well. So the learners are also given a freedom. We are moving on to the next set of activity. Here we say each learner can choose what he or she wants to do from the tic-tac-toe chart by choosing 3 activities, either going across, down, or diagonal account. You here, you are I'm encouraging you to go through the learner support program study guide. You will find this topic, read it and understand it more, practice it more until you get it, and when you go to your learners, you are fully acquired, or you are fully aware of what to do, so that you don't get confused yourself or the learners. Thank you very much. I am moving on. My presentation it's a bit long, so I'm asking for your patience. So I'm going to do it as fast as I can, then I'll free from you after I have asked me questions. Here we are talking of the set, another activity that children can do, or you can give to your children. The set of available choices should also include a variety of activity types and the basic competence of the specific syllabus. Thus, a learner will show what knowledge was gained regarding the topic. We are moving on to step number 6. Step number 6. Step number 6, which is the concrete representation abstract. I read it